Good morning, this is Terry from the Frugal Connection. Welcome to my kitchen. This morning I went to our local farmer's market. I picked up some pie pumpkins, and today what I want to do is process these so that I can make some pumpkin muffins for an event that we're having tomorrow. And I want to invite you to join along with me. Okay, I'm all set to do this. I have 3 small sugar pie pumpkins here. This will probably make more than I need, so all I'm going to do is put the rest of the filling in the freezer in like 2-cup measurements so that I have them if I want to make muffins. But then if I want to make a pie, I can just pull out two packages of them, and because most pies take about 4 cups of pumpkin. And so that's what I'm going to do. So we're going to start by cutting these in half. My oven is preheating to 350 degrees. I have my cookie sheet here lined with parchment paper. And this has kind of got a high lip on it. And you do want that because sometimes pumpkins can have a lot of moisture in them. I'm not expecting that with these, but if they do and they leak, they're not going to leak all over the inside of your oven. So what I'm going to do is I am going to start by seeing if I can snap this off, and I probably cannot. So the safest thing is to take off, maybe. Oh my goodness, I always find those so difficult to do. Okay, so I took off the top, and let me get these out of the way. Now, you can buy pumpkin in a can, that's fine. I just love this time of the year because our farmer's market has all kinds of goodies, and this particular one I went to this morning, row upon row of all different kinds of pumpkins. I was in a hurry, so I didn't really take the time to look around and pick some few other things, so I'm going to go back. But for now, the pie pumpkins, they're sugar pie pumpkins. They're awesome. They have such a great flavor. They work well in pies, in cookies, in muffins, in all the pumpkin things. So, all right, I took the stem off the top. Sometimes they snap right off. That one did not. And now all I'm going to do is just cut it right in half, right down the middle. There we go. All right, so on the inside, you can see this is pretty meaty. So I'm going to remove all this, and now I'm going to save the seeds because I like pumpkin seeds, and I can make a treat with those. All right, that one popped right off. There we go. Okay, friends, I should have got a few more pumpkins because by the time I got it figured out, I was done. For whatever reason, that was tough to do. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a spoon, and all you do is go through and just scrape the insides out. Doesn't have to be perfect, but you do want all the seeds out of there, and you want pretty much all the pulp. There might be a little few strands left, but that's good enough. And let me take off this part of the stem is still on here. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is you just put it flesh side down on your baking sheet, just like that. Okay, and I'm going to keep going here with all these, and I will see you when I'm done. Friends, one thing that I forgot to mention that I love to make this time of year is pumpkin soup, and this type of pumpkin is so good in that. And so one of these days I'm going to walk us through a recipe making pumpkin soup, but making an oil-free, dairy-free version that is just very yummy. Okay, these are going to go into a 350-degree oven for about 30 minutes. Then I will check on them. And what will happen is it's super easy. You don't need to add water or anything like that. They bake, and then you can just scoop out the meat of the pumpkin. Easy peasy. I remember years ago I used to peel them and do the whole shebang. And I don't have to do that. So I'm going to put these in the oven right now. All right, I took this out of the oven about a half hour ago, and I ended up baking it for an hour to just make sure. So as you can see, the skins, it's soft, the skins are kind of wilted, and generally if you push a fork or a knife through it and it's soft, you know it's done. So I pulled it out, I let it cool, and I just kept them face down so that they would have time to cool off and steam a little bit. All right, so I'm going to take my spoon. I'm going to get this turned over. And they really did not lose much moisture. And this is what happens. You basically can just peel the skin right off. You could scoop them, but in this case, the skin is separating from the meat, which is great. All right, there you have it. I almost think these could have stayed in a little bit longer, but okay, here we have the pumpkin. The last two halves, it just slid right out. While I was picking it up, the pumpkin just fell right on the tray. So we are good to go with this. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get my food processor out, and I'm just going to puree this so that it's an even consistency and there's no strands of the meat in there or pulp or anything like that. And what I'm going to do first, though, is get this cleaned up. All right, I pulled out my food processor, and now what I'm going to do is just transfer this a little bit at a time into this and give it a good mix so that it gets nice and smooth. Now, one of the things, I do have a canner, a pressure canner, but you cannot can pumpkin puree. The canner will not get hot enough to make that safe. Generally, you can can almost anything, including meat, if you're using a pressure canner. But with pumpkin puree, butternut squash, anything like that, it packs so tightly, and it will not get to a high enough heat. So those you do need to buy in canned version from the store if you're going to do that. So what I do with mine is once I puree this, I'm going to transfer it into freezer bags once it cools, and then I'm going to freeze it in 2-cup measuring cups. Oops. And as you can see, it's nice and smooth, so it blended up really well. All right, as you can see, we have a nice smooth pumpkin puree. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this cool off, and then I will meet you back here to package it up, and then we will make some pumpkin muffins as well. Welcome back. It's a few hours later. I actually went out for a while. I went for a walk, stopped at the store to pick up some things. So I am back. My pie filling is completely cool. I have my freezer bags here. Since I'm only freezing it in 2-cup measurements, I probably could use a quart-size bag, but I just don't have any, so I'm going to use what I have and make it work. So as you can see, it's nice and creamy now. It turned out beautiful. And again, those the sugar pumpkins, they're like kind of a little smallish pumpkins that I showed you. They make the best pies, I think. All right. Thank goodness it's so thick, it's not even coming out of the cup. And what I do is I just pat it down, I fold it over once, and then I zip it closed, because then this way they can lay flat in your freezer and they won't take up so much space. All right. Okay. So that made the 3 pumpkins made 4 2-cup batches, so 8 cups, and actually 9, because I have another cup in there, and I'm going to use that for the muffins I'm going to make. Okay, friends, I ended up with 1.5 cups of pumpkin puree left, and I have 4 2-cup packages that I'm going to get in my freezer, and then I'm going to come back and we'll make some pumpkin muffins. Okay, friends, I'm going to make some pumpkin muffins now. I got my ingredients out, and I kind of want to walk you through this recipe. I have a 1 3/4 cups of chickpea flour. I don't have any more gluten-free flour left, and I do have the chickpea flour. It does have a little bit of a different taste, so some people don't like that, and if you're not a fan of it, you can use whatever flour you want. I'm just trying to avoid the all-purpose, highly processed flours, but I figure in this case, because I'm adding all the spices into it, I'm not going to notice that taste as much, and I don't mind it. I also have here a teaspoon of baking powder, a 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. I have a 1.5 teaspoons of cinnamon, 1/2 teaspoon of nutmeg, a 1/4 teaspoon of cloves and ginger, which I am going to add right into my my flour. So those are all my dry ingredients, and they smell really yummy. My oven is the beeper just went off because it's finished preheating. I set it for 400 degrees. I also put together 2 flax eggs. So in here I have 2 tablespoons of flax meal mixed with 6 tablespoons of water. And I let that sit for a little bit so it could absorb the water. And this is the egg replacer in the recipe. I have I forgot how many I put in here, 3/4 cup of maple syrup. I have a 1.5 cups of pumpkin, 1/4 cup of almond milk, and I'm going to use a teaspoon of vanilla extract. Now, I know lots of times when people watch the videos, they'll say, where's the recipe? I need the measurements, and I always link the recipe in the description box down below the video, which will take you to my website, thefrugalconnection.com, and on the blog on there you can find the recipe, but I link directly to the recipe, so that should not be a problem. All right, so I'm going to start by putting all my wet ingredients together. So I have my pumpkin, my maple syrup, my flax egg is going in here, my almond milk, Oops. And I'm going to put about 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla extract. And I'm just eyeballing it because I don't know what I do with my measuring spoons. All right, so I'm going to put this all in my stand mixer and give this a mix. Now to this, I'm going to add my dry ingredients, the flour mixture with all the spices, baking soda, the baking powder. I think this is going to be... I did think of something. I want to add a little tahini to this because I want a little bit of fat in there to help it, just to kind of replace the oil that I'm not putting in the recipe. So I'm going to grab tahini. Yeah. All right, I put in 3 tablespoons of tahini. Okay, I have 2 silicone baking tins here. I don't know that I need them all, but I have the second one ready just in case. I ended up adding another 1/2 cup of flour to it because it just seemed a little thin. And I also transferred it into a pouring measuring cup so I could actually pour the batter, so I'm trying not to make a mess with it. So you're going to fill these cups about 3/4 of the way full. That's a little too much. Okay, I have my muffin cups filled. I made a mess, so I had to clean it all up, but it actually makes 12 muffins. And I'm going to get these in the oven. I'm putting them into a 400-degree oven for about 20 to 25 minutes. I will check them after 20 minutes, and I will let you know how they turn out. Hi friends, welcome back. I took the muffins out of the oven. They were in there for about 23 minutes. They look fantastic. They rose very nicely. They smell amazing. And the only thing left to do is to get them out of this pan, which normally I would let them sit a little bit longer, but I want to at least take one out so I can give it a taste test and let you know what it's like. But I got to be careful because the silicone is very hot. All right, so let me get a plate. And that's the nice thing about using silicone is that you do not need to oil your pan or grease your pan because they pop right out. All right, so let me open this up and see what we got. Oh, lovely. Look how beautiful. It's very warm right now, and I really should let it cool off before I try to eat it. But I do want to taste it, but it's fluffy on the inside. It looks beautiful. I'm very pleased with this. You can taste all those spices. Because I didn't use a lot of maple syrup, it has a hint of sweetness, so it's not super sweet. And I used chickpea flour, so it does have a little bit of that taste to it. So if you do not like the taste of that, certainly use a different kind of flour. And I realized after I made these, I was like, oh, wait a second, I had almond flour in the house. I probably could have used that. But I love them. I think they're great. I did use tahini in it, or you could use almond butter, which will give it kind of that fat replacement that you're looking for in it, and just give it that kind of a texture that you're looking for. But these are fantastic. So definitely give this one a try. I will post the link to this recipe down below in the description box. It's on my website, thefrugalconnection.com. Under the blog, you know, there's a whole bunch of recipes on there. You can scroll around, look at those. I do have other recipes in my new cookbook, Simple and Nutritious, 52 plant-based whole food recipes, and that can be found on Amazon. I will link that down below as well. I will put a link for the chickpea flour that I use, the tahini that I use. But you could use, you know, instead of tahini, you could use almond butter or some other kind of nut or seed butter. I certainly wouldn't use peanut butter in these. You could add vegan chocolate chips to them if you wanted to. Again, check the sugar content because we're trying to avoid those highly processed white sugar. And so I just used maple syrup in this. I could have used date syrup, but for pumpkin muffins, I kind of wanted more of a traditional fall taste. So I hope you'll give it a try. Let me know what you think. And I will see you in the next video. I hope you have a beautiful day and enjoy the fall while it lasts because winter is coming. Have a good one.